Vladimir Putin has finally deployed his Terminator military vehicles in battle in Ukraine as Kyiv continues to obliterate invading Russian tanks with the help of British missiles. Video shows the much-vaunted armored vehicles, which are designed to support infantry units fighting in urban areas, in the Donbas region in eastern Ukraine. The deployment of the BMP-T Terminator comes as Russia's invasion of Ukraine has taken a heavy toll on Putin's main army tanks, the T-90M tank, after Ukrainian troops continued to obliterate them with rockets. Ukraine said this week its armed forces had destroyed Russian tanks deep behind enemy lines in the Donbas region using British-made Brimstone missiles for the first time. In an effort to bolster their arsenal, a platoon of Terminator military vehicles were deployed and used for the first time in battle in the Donbas. The BMPTs, or Tank Support Combat Vehicles as they are designated, were seen near Severodonetsk in Luhansk region. They are involved in the fire destruction of Ukrainian positions, armored vehicles, and crews of anti-tank missile systems, a defense source told state news agency RIA Novosti. It is equipped with grenade launchers, anti-tank systems and small arms, and was nicknamed Terminator by its manufacturer Zaralvagonzavod. The Terminator saw action in Syria and was initially moved to the Ukrainian border in February. It is unclear why Putin's generals have delayed its deployment until now. One theory is that his beleaguered commanders do not trust it to be as all-conquering as its name suggests. We are starting to use Terminators. There might be issues and mistakes, but practice is everything. A video shows the Terminator during trials, and it has been showcased at Victory Day parades in Red Square. Meanwhile, the T-90 is Russia's most advanced tank, with the base model entering service in 1992, though production only ramped up in the late 2000s. The £4 million T-90M is the latest version of the tank, and entered service in 2016. Russia is thought to field around 1,000 of all T-90 variants, compared to around 5,000 T-72s, the tank the T-90 is based on and which has done the bulk of the fighting in Ukraine. The T-90 is supposed to be one of the best tanks in the world, and has upgraded armor and missile protection systems compared to the T-72, which make it harder to destroy, at least in theory. But last week, drone footage showed a T-90M Russian tank being taken out by an 18,000-pound Swedish rocket launcher north of Kharkiv. Drone footage issued by Ukraine's Ministry of Defense showed the T-90M exploding, which they say happened after a hit with a Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle. The rifle is actually a Swedish-made rocket launcher that costs around 18,500 pounds, including the rocket. More footage of the wreck suggests the rocket evaded the T-90's advanced armor and defense systems by smashing through one of the wheels. It then exploded inside the engine compartment, appearing to detonate ammunition along the way, which produced a large blast, bending its armor plating outwards. Drone footage shared by a Ukrainian combat instructor also appears to show Kyiv's forces using Brimstone missiles to destroy Russian tanks deep behind enemy lines. The footage shows two missiles strike military vehicles in quick succession, sending debris flying into the air. The weapon has been adapted to be fired from small vehicles on the Ukrainian battlefield rather than used from warplanes, drones of naval ships, as designed. In the footage shared by Pavlo Kashchuk yesterday, two missiles were fired from a tractor before two struck a convoy of military vehicles believed to be in the Donbas region. Pavlo wrote, "They say the orcs are in a little panic. Tanks get their turrets torn down even in the rear. There are already rumors about new ghost planes from NATO, but wait, it's just good old Brimstones in the skillful hands of operators of the Special Operations Forces and a little bit of military trickery." It is believed this is the first time the missiles have been fired from the ground in live combat, with earlier footage showing Ukraine forces training with the high-tech weapons. The operation was reportedly carried out by special forces who had been trained to use the newly designed weapon. The 175,000 pounds Brimstone came into service in 2005, with an updated version supplied to the RAF 6 years ago. As a fire-and-forget missile, it strikes its target after being launched, without further intervention, using laser-seeking guidance or autonomous targeting. The weapon is being used by the United Kingdom's RAF, as well as the air forces of Germany and Saudi Arabia. Qatar is also set to use the weapon in the future. Like several Western nations, the UK has supplied Ukraine with military support since President Putin launched his invasion on February 24. In recent days, the UK confirmed £1.3 billion in extra military funding towards Ukraine's defensive operations, on top of the existing £1.5 billion of support already given, which included humanitarian and military aid. Britain has supplied Ukraine with armored vehicles, anti-tank missiles, air defense systems and munitions, along with helmets, body armor and night vision goggles. Ukrainian armed forces have utilized handheld anti-tank missile launchers, as well as other modern equipment such as drones, to great effect, punching well above their weight against a Russian army that is the fifth largest in the world. Despite many commentators expecting Ukraine's forces to be overrun in the early days of the invasion, Kyiv's soldiers have been able to destroy thousands of Russian military vehicles. Moscow has lost an estimated 27,000 soldiers. Modern equipment has allowed Ukraine's soldiers to be more maneuverable than their Russian foes, who have been caught out using Soviet-era tactics. Several videos have shown scores of Russian vehicles being destroyed in ambushes. It comes as fears are continuing to mount for the surrendered heroes of Mariupol today, as it is revealed they are being taken to a hellhole concentration camp on Russian-held territory. Witnesses say at least 7 busloads filled with Ukrainian troops taken captive after surrendering to Russian troops at the Azovstal steelworks have arrived in the town of Volynsky, where they were taken to a penal colony. The facility, named Corrective Prison Colony No. 52, was already being used to house Ukrainians deemed unreliable by Russian security services, described by an advisor to the mayor of Mariupol as a 21st-century concentration camp. Inmates including the wives of soldiers, journalists and former government workers have described being starved, tortured, and threatened with execution at the cramped camp, which was built for 850 people but now houses more than 3,000. Interrogation sessions by Russian FSB agents can last for hours, according to a report by Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner, with the aim of getting prisoners to sign papers admitting to collaboration with the Ukrainian regime. Some of those subjected to the interrogations simply disappear amid rumors they are being sent to even worse prisons such as one at Izolyatsiya, where the UN has documented cases of electroshock torture, mock executions, and sexual violence. Kyiv says the soldiers, who held out for 82 days against a brutal Russian siege, agreed to surrender late Monday on the understanding they would be traded back to their home country in a prisoner swap. It is thought the UN and Red Cross, which helped facilitate the evacuation of civilians from Mariupol 10 days beforehand, are working in the background to ensure the pledge is honored. Russia says 959 soldiers have now been taken out of the plant, including 694 over the last 24 hours. But the news sparked almost immediate calls within Russia for any exchange to be outlawed so the soldiers can be brought to justice for war crimes. Russian MPs branded the troops, who include members of the Azov battalion which was founded by neo-Nazi groups, fascists and lower than animals, with one even going so far as to say they should face the death penalty. Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister, Hanna Maliar, said negotiations for the fighters' release were ongoing, branding calls for their execution propaganda produced for a domestic audience. "We very much hope for a positive result," she told the BBC. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the most influential international mediators are involved in plans to rescue fighters still remaining in the plant. He said the operation to rescue the last defenders was delicate and would take time, without revealing how many people still need to come out. It is unclear exactly what prompted the surrender of the Mariupol garrison, which was holed up inside the sprawling Azovstal complex and had endured weeks under heavy Russian bombardment. Denis Prokopenko, commander of the garrison, revealed that the order to surrender came from military top brass, though did not say why it was given. He had previously vowed to fight to the death. It is thought Zelensky had been telling the fighters for weeks that they should give up if you feel you must and not to feel you must give your lives in this fight. But time and again his plea was rebuffed, the BBC reports, by soldiers who felt sure they would be killed or tortured if they fell into Russian hands. Anna, whose brother was inside the plant, told me on Tuesday, there are many concerns about how the fighters will be treated and whether they'll manage to survive until a swap happens. Oksana, the wife of a fighter, said, "It's very worrying for me and others that they were evacuated to Russian-controlled territory. We're very, very worried about the things that can happen to them." Mariupol was targeted by Russia in the early days of the invasion.